Welcome to Adventures at SOAR, a series dedicated to ADHD, learning differences, and the great outdoors. I'm Sarah, SOAR's marketing director, and today we have a special episode in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. We'll be exploring unique connections between the outdoors and ADHD within the Hispanic community. Before we dive in, I want to emphasize that ADHD is not exclusive to any particular community or ethnic group. To discuss this important topic, I'm delighted to have Paty and Marco here with us. The two of them are dedicated SOAR staff who are passionate not only about the benefits of outdoor adventure as it impacts ADHD, but also about their Hispanic heritage. Thank you both for being here with me today.
Thank you for inviting us.
Of course, Paty, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little about yourself?
Of course, I'm Paty. I'm Mexican. I'm 27 years old. I have been working with SOAR for 2 summers as a field staff, and that's pretty much my information. I love working with kids, different ages, different characteristics, so I really enjoy my time with SOAR. Would you like to go ahead, Marco?
Hey, my name is Marco. I'm 25 years old, and I've been with SOAR for a whole summer, this past summer, and now I'm working for the academy at SOAR. I'm currently enjoying it and loving it a lot, learning so much. So I'm very excited to keep growing and finally, at some point, go back to Chile and my country and start applying all the tools that I've been gaining here.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being here. To get started, I want you both to talk a little bit about what brought you here. How did you figure out what SOAR was? What made you want to work for SOAR? And how has your life changed since starting this position?
So I first went to SOAR because I was studying in a college close by, and this recruiting team just came to talk to us, and since the very beginning it just sounded really, really cool place to learn and grow and serve. And I didn't get to work for SOAR until like 2 years after I first learned about them, but I always wanted. And so I just tried. It couldn't happen because of different reasons. So then the next summer I tried again, and I finally got to work for SOAR. And it was a very unique experience. I started learning about all the ADHD and like different learning difficulties to a level that I never imagined, because all these things happen all the time to everyone. You mentioned like this is not something that only happens here, it happens in any community. The difference is that in some other communities it may not be a common topic to talk about. And so through SOAR, I've been able to learn even like about my own family. I never thought that I may have some of these learning difficulties, or my parents or my grandparents or my cousins, my siblings. And now the more I learn, the more I'm like, oh, maybe my cousin has these, and I feel like now I could understand him better and improve our relationships at home. So all this experience, it's been very unique, and I'm very excited to go back and start teaching them or spreading this knowledge that I've been gaining here at SOAR.
That's awesome. Paty, would you say that it has been the same experience for you, or has it been different? How did you find out about SOAR?
I find out about SOAR because I think kind of destiny or luck, because since I'm Mexican, I was like trying to find some way to work outside of my country. So the enterprise that I used to travel around to find you guys, so we were able to contact, and then I was really excited about going with you. I had I was pretending to travel on I think 2022, but the pandemic was like in the middle of everything. So I needed to wait for a year to go with you. Since I'm a psychologist, I have basic information about the ADHD and neurodiversity. So I thought since the moment one that I was going to be able to learn a lot from my area. And actually that happened. And now I'm able to, just like Marco, I'm able to travel with this information that I learned from you. And I'm actually applying that information and that knowledge to my daily life, in my work, And now I'm more patient and more open to interact with other people and actually try to get them and to know them and be able to relate with them in a different kind of way I was used to do before traveling with you.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that SOAR was able to help you become more patient and understanding. It's definitely something that we need to learn to do so that way we can work with our kids and really be patient with them and understand that they might need a little bit more time to process things. And it's okay to take that moment and give them that second that they need before moving forward. Marco, you kind of touched on it a little bit that since working with SOAR, you've now realized, oh, well, maybe my family member is suffering from this. Maybe I'm suffering from this. Maybe I see this in my community. Would you say within your communities that this is not as talked about, or would you say it is talked about just as much as it is in the US?
I definitely think that is not talked about enough. I remember growing up, like some kids being like, "Oh, like I take these pills," but like, it was so rare. I could count with one hand the people that I heard actually like treating their difficulties, and I didn't even think about it until I started working here. I came to the US and I hear about it so much, and it's way more normalized. And I see more people actually dealing with it and finding ways to deal with it. Whereas back home, it's barely talked about. And from my experience, of course, it's barely talked about, and even less people dealing with it or trying different ways to deal with it.
Patty, would you say that that's the same experience that you've had, that it's not as talked about or there aren't as many resources available in your community, or would you say it's more prevalent?
Just like Marco, the main difference is the use of medication. In here in Mexico, we have medication and we have the option to medicate the kids, but it's not that common. And actually, it's kind of a taboo issue with the kids. Like if your kid is actually taking medication, it's like a big deal and it's like a big trouble in the family or in the daily life. Also with schools, it's not that normalized. So they try to find strategies, but the information is not as useful as it is like in America. I think you have more information and general population knows about this. And here in Mexico, we have basic information, but that's pretty much it. So you will need to find a specialist to actually find some strategies and some actually help that it's gonna make the difference in the daily life of the kid.
Right. And that day-to-day life, I mean, is what shapes you, whether you go to a program like SOAR later on or you start early, you're really having that foundation your whole life and these unknown biases towards your own disability if you're not really focused in on how can I create these coping strategies? How can I work through this? How can I find my support system? Would you say that your heritage has really impacted the way that you view the population that SOAR works with?
I think like pretty much the heritage actually impacts because we have different ways to see even the daily life. Like daily life in America is different than daily life everywhere. But I don't think like that there's a big difference about trying to involve the kids in daily activities or in schools. I think all the world is trying to actually do that, but the countries are doing it in a different way. Maybe because of the specific characteristic of each place. We don't have the same opportunities that you have, and you don't have the same opportunities that we have, and that happens actually in every country. So I think that's pretty much the difference.
I apologize if this sounds a little harsh, but I definitely think that it was weird whenever I first came and I started listening about ADHD and different learning difficulties because it's so not spoken back home that whenever like people start saying, "Oh, I have ADHD," "Oh, I have this thing," I was like, okay, like it sounds a little exaggerated. Like that doesn't mean that you cannot do this, and that. Because from where I am, people may have it or not have it, and still just deal with whatever they have to deal with. And so it's kind of like a harsh way to go through life. And so at the very beginning, I was like, okay, that almost sounds like excuses coming from some people. And so then I came to SOAR and I started learning about it, and it actually gave me like a better understanding of what it is. And instead of seeing as an excuse, it's actually okay. This is a real thing. This is how their brain works, and so these are some things that help that, and this is how they can get through life in an easier way. And so I definitely think that being at SOAR has been very helpful to become more understanding, more empathetic, and yeah, kind of moving away from my culture where it's like, it sucks to suck, you gotta get through life. And now it's like, okay, we actually, there is tools out there, and so let's empathize a little bit. Let's see the world the way they see it and try to help them a little bit.
I mean, what you said at the beginning, where you first viewed it as like, this is an excuse, that's not real. Like, that is a very real stereotype and stigma that we see surrounding ADHD and learning challenges. There are plenty of people out there that to this day, even with all of the evidence, even with all of the research, even with communities like SOAR, still see it as, well, this is just an excuse. I mean, there are plenty of parents that see their children suffering and say, oh, well, you're just lazy. You just don't want to do your homework. When really it's they have this challenge that they need help overcoming. They need that support system. And that's why places like SOAR exist, to show those parents, hey, this is real and this is how we can help your child. So that way they can get the tools that they need and be successful even with this difficulty. And I think that organizations like SOAR obviously have been around for a while, but they're still so uncommon and unheard of. So people like you, when you go back to where you originally came from and you talk about your experience, then it's eye-opening, and you then become the advocate in your community and are able to be the voice for those children that may not have that support system or may not have that immediate advocate either. With it being Hispanic Heritage Month and us talking about how Hispanic culture and community has really impacted the way that you view SOAR and how you approach helping our children and guiding them, how can we recognize and celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month?
Honestly, starting with the kids, they ask all the time about home. And how is this back home, and what do you do? They all the time ask about how it is in Chile. They want to know, they want to explore, they want to go to their places. So this is not an exception for the SOAR kids. They are so like excited whenever there's people from our countries, or like from my experience at least. They keep asking questions from, how was it when I was growing up? Like, where did I grow up? How was blah 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 blah. And I feel like starting from listening to them, if the admin at SOAR listens to what the kids are excited about and actually responding to those questions and doing a quick, this meal is gonna be specific country day, and prepare that, or like or having an assignment, like it can be meals or decorating the room, or I don't know, a presentation. But in the end of the day, in my opinion, the best way to embrace other cultures, it has to start by embracing their own culture. And so I feel like if at SOAR there was more embracement of like the native groups here and the culture here, then that will give room to start embracing other cultures as well. At the end, it's kind of like everything starts from home, like everything starts inside. I feel like if SOAR emphasizes on embracing the native groups here that are in this country, then it will open the door to start embracing also other cultures as well.
Also, I think like Marco said, I think SOAR has been trying to hire or have international staff with you, which I think it's pretty amazing, because there's no like better way to actually interact and learn from another country than being with actually a person from there. So having that happening every single year and actually trying to find more international staff, that would be awesome, because just like Marco was saying, the kids want to learn, and whenever they find out that you are from another country, they start asking. That actually happened to me, and I think that happened to all the international staff. They are actually trying to know how life is over there and how do you do that in your daily life. And also like driving, like they ask, do you drive in the left side or the right side? So like basic information they are just asking. I think that's the best way. Even like they do the expositions or they just assist to those expositions. I think those are like the most valuable experiences they can have. I think SOAR has been doing a great job, like actually keeping the international staff with you.
Yeah, I definitely think that we have opened our doors to international staff throughout the years, and we'll continue to do that just because it does bring such a rich culture into SOAR, and we get to learn a little bit more about every single person that participate.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the part that Patty said about the international staff. That's such a big key part of opening up the minds of kids and like, oh, like I didn't even know that that was in this continent, or I didn't know that that was a country. Like random things like that. And that doesn't always happen, but and just like they ask for like the randomest information, and so yeah, I feel like like coming up with some, oh, did you know that in Chile, blah, 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 and giving like a random fact for them so they can learn. Because there is so many kids that love the random facts. Like they love them. So, and they're going to remember that. So, coming with the part of they're hiring a lot of international staff. That's a great start. And now it's like it could be in our hands. Okay, we give them one random fact a day in one expedition. And that builds up to 14 random facts. And little things like that, I feel like it could help a lot.
Right. I think those little things are definitely an easy way to diversify and include different heritage groups. Going off of that, how can we, not just as an organization, but in general, promote greater diversity and inclusivity in outdoor recreational activities, especially outdoor adventure sports? I feel like that is such a niche group that really is just, you think of the lumberjack and you have like this visualized stereotype of who are these outdoor participants. How do we diversify this and make sure that everybody has the benefits of spending time outdoors, especially in the ADHD community? Because we've seen that the outdoors can be healing, nature is healing, getting them just outside, showing them this is what you can focus on. So how do we diversify this? How do we make it so it's accessible to everybody?
So, accessibility for the outdoor sports and outdoor activities, recreational activities, it's very wide topic because one is like, okay, you have the different culture or communities that do these sports and these activities, but also like the fact of like, okay, they can be expensive. So like only specific populations can like actually pay all this gear, and that is one thing. And definitely I think like we need to focus on that side, because I mean one way to make it more accessible for everybody will be actually like all the economical part, like making gear cheaper and all these things, but that's very out of our hands. So, in my opinion, something that we could actually do, and I guess I'm gonna go back to what I was saying about like native groups. If we learn of the native groups of different countries, different communities, there's such a strong and like a common theme that is all native groups value and worship nature, or most of them. And so, whenever, if we start learning how the native people appreciated and took care of nature, and then we try to learn from that, and then like actually start sharing like, oh, like actually this is not just the people who go climbing that actually apply LNT. This has been something that it's been going for centuries, and like these people who normally you don't see like climbing, or like native people, those groups, normally you don't see them doing the specific sports these days. They have such a strong feeling for nature, and I feel like if we learn from them and then we show people like, oh, they've been doing it for a long time, then people will be like, huh, I guess like this is something that everybody does and everybody can do. And it's been going forever. So I don't know. That's like the first thing that comes to mind. And then just making sure that there's still like, okay, we're learning from them. We're learning how they used to take care of nature. So let's invite them now. And let's do a trip with them and learn from them and also invite them, opening up opportunities for specific communities. As Patty said earlier, like we are bringing in international staff. So maybe having like a specific trip that is for a specific community that gives the opportunity to those people to actually start doing things outside and feeling included.
Yeah, I think that is a hard one. Just like Marco said, money issue is kind of a hard one because doing outdoor activities is actually kind of expensive. So I would say I think we're trying to do it, but we haven't accomplished it. Trying to recycle and reuse all the materials. Like maybe if I have a new backpack, I will give it instead of selling it or instead of throwing it away, maybe creating like groups of reusing that gear. So maybe kids that doesn't have like the opportunity to buy all the gear they need, maybe they can have the opportunity if we do that. The ways are sometimes borrow some gear. Maybe I think that is that even if the kid is saying I don't have a backpack, maybe well we can find you one backpack and you can do a road trip with us, and then you will give it back and we can be using that backpack for many kids. So I think that could be a little or a big step for going that and actually making everybody being involved in outdoor activities, and also spreading the opportunity to different kind of schools, maybe going to different population and not being just in one area. I would say that would be the best option I can think about.
It is very difficult when it comes to price to get people into the outdoors, especially because there is an economic divide when it comes to outdoor adventure activities. Like Marco said, with climbing, like climbing is an expensive sport, especially if you're not just bouldering. Even bouldering, you need a crash pad, you can't just fall on the ground. So there's still like some barriers there. But in order to really overcome those barriers, we need to look for groups that are specifically designed to support these communities and expand our knowledge on the outdoors and really get to those communities head on. It's easy to say, yes, we're going to invite these people. Yes, we're going to create this group. But if we don't show action, if we don't reflect the people that we're trying to attract in those groups, it's not going to have as much of an impact. Luckily, there are a lot of groups that are even in our own area that are dedicated to diversifying the outdoors. For example, a few nonprofits and groups that are working towards that is Get Out and Stay Out is one that is out in the West Coast. So it's not really close to SOAR, but it is close to our California location. They are dedicated to diversifying the outdoors through Hispanic communities. Latinx Hikers and Latino Outdoors are both groups that are really trying, especially for the Hispanic community, to diversify what the outdoors look like, get them on the trails. I mean, hiking is the cheapest form of outdoor adventure that you can have. All you need is a good pair of shoes and a trail nearby. As long as you're not at a park that needs an access pass, you're good. You can go on in and get out there. And I think that's where people forget, is that hiking is the best outdoor activity and it's the cheapest one we have. So definitely working towards inviting those people in and showing them, hey, let's start with a hike and we'll get you the gear, especially because a lot of communities are big on doing gear exchanges for those used products that can still be used again. Maybe you just got something new, but you have a pair of hiking boots are only a few months old and you just got a new pair and you want to get rid of them. Donate them, create a group, post them on Facebook Marketplace for free and say, I'll even throw in this trail guide for you. Like, I want to get you out there. I think it just starts with that conversation. Marco, before you mentioned a little bit about cooking and showing the kids, especially at SOAR, they ask you, what do you eat? How do you use Hispanic cuisine when you're on the trail? I've seen the pictures throughout summer camp of people posting some really great different food that's not always like the typical camp food, because I think a lot of kids think I'm going to summer camp, I'm going to eat peanut butter and jelly and mac and cheese for the next few months, but then I see the meals from the trail and I'm like, that is not mac and cheese and I wish I was there. So how do you guys use your Hispanic heritage to influence the cooking that you do while out on expedition?
I think Hispanic cuisine is like very special. We can actually show the kids the different food we eat. I think the basic difference doing outdoors is using spices or the different way we have to cook meals. I don't know if that has happened to Marco, but I cook in a different way that the kids are used to look. So whenever they look at us trying to cook in a different way or trying to help them in a different way, they're like, no, you cannot do that. Yes, we can. And it will taste different and it will taste good. You know, you're not used to that, but you will like it. And actually they like it. I think that's pretty much the basic difference. And also, in my personal opinion, we use more fresh food, like more vegetables and less fried food. And we are looking forward to use those ingredients, like not eating PB&J and not eating mac and cheese all the time. We're actually looking for fruit and vegetables and sauces and actually spicing our food. I could say that.
I agree with Patty. Whenever she says that we tend to use a lot of fresh ingredients, and it's the same with me. And actually, it's kind of like funny because when you go backpacking or whatever, like sometimes you can't really take many vegetables that are gonna go bad in a couple days. So that's always a struggle for me. So we always end up planning like, okay, like I really still want some fresh vegetables. So I'm gonna try to feed them like the first few days as much as I can, and then kind of like suffer a little bit towards the end. No, but I think it's also funny how sometimes you're like, oh, I'm gonna put these two things together and like I'm gonna enjoy it, and they're like, what? No, there's no way that cannot be together. I'm like, just wait, and like they end up like sometimes enjoying, sometimes not, and that happens. Growing up in a family where whatever we had, we prepare it and made the best out of it. It didn't let me be very picky. I was very picky when I was growing up, and then I get to a point that like my parents keep saying like, okay, like there's people who have nothing to eat, like you better enjoy that thing. So my mom like will prepare whatever, like these amazing creations out of like nowhere, out of nothing. And so I think that kind of like opened my mind to just mix things around and try different seasonings and just try different combinations instead of sticking to one specific recipe, and I have to follow the recipes step by step. It's like I'm just gonna try these things, and if it doesn't work, well, I'm gonna eat it and I'm not gonna enjoy it as much. But if it works, it can be a whole new revolutionary dish. So I think that might be because of the heritage. It might be just, I don't know. I don't know where it is, but I have seen that when I go backpacking with kids or even with instructors, when we're planning the menu or whatever, I'm like, I'm okay trying these two things, and they're like, ah. I'm like, okay. So yeah, it's just kind of like being open to trying different combinations and things like that.
Right. And I think that goes back to what we talked about before, how it's our job to really introduce these things to our kids and have patience with them, because our students often, that's not what they're used to. And I'm sure maybe they want to try the vegetables, maybe they want to try some new seasoning or a new combo. I mean, my rule is always try it twice. If you don't like it the first time and you like it the second time, you never know. Maybe you want to do it again. But both of you touched a little bit on this before and in your past answers. But how has your heritage really impacted your way of life, the way that you view working internationally, and just what makes you proud of your heritage?
In my personal opinion, I think I was never like kind of proud of saying, hey, I'm Mexican until I actually traveled. So I was like, hey, I'm the only Mexican, or there are two Mexicans here, and it's amazing the way like we can do things. I couldn't say like all Hispanic culture, but in Mexican culture, I have always think that we have a special way to do different things. Even it's not the best or it's not the worst, we have special ways to do everything, like cooking, getting dressed, interacting with other people. So I would say that is pretty much what makes me feel proud of my culture and proud of who I am and proud of what I have learned from my culture and what I can apply to a different culture and actually show you that there's another way to do the things. that have been working for me, that have worked in my culture, and then I can go and transfer that knowledge. So I would say that that's a big impact, like traveling and being able to say, I'm not from here, but I'm proud of who I am.
I think very similar to what Paty said. When I was in Chile, I love the place, I love the people, and I also hate the bad side of the country, all the bad parts that, and no country is perfect, and there's a lot of bad things. So then whenever I start traveling, I start actually feeling nostalgia and like missing home. And it's because of every single little thing. It can be like the interactions with some people or how simple life can be, because by the end of the day, whenever I came here, I see how many opportunities are in this country and how many things I can do. And then I look back and it's like, oh my gosh, like back home, like people struggle every day to go through life, and still by the end of the day they're trying to make the best out of it and like be happy. And if people have nothing, then nothing is what they're gonna share with each other, and they're gonna be happy out of nothing. So it's, you start focusing on the very little things, like it can be sharing a piece of bread with somebody in the evening, and like a cup of tea or milk, and have a conversation that lasts hours, or things that I guess like people enjoy everywhere, playing instruments around a bonfire and just hanging out. But I feel like for some reason, I don't know, at home it feels like a little bit easier to enjoy the little things, because that's what everybody does. Nobody's focusing on like, oh, I need to make this much money for blah blah blah. Like that's not really a thing. It's like, okay, this is what I have, this is my reality, and let's make the best out of it. Hopefully, move on from that situation, but always enjoying the little things, the little moments, like food. No need to go out. It's okay. I have 3 avocados. Oh, like my friend has like 2 tomatoes. Let's just like gather, like let's meet up and like prepare something together and let's just share. Yeah, making fun moments and things out of nothing. I think that's something that I am very proud of, because I feel like I live my life in a very simple way here, and I don't need much to be happy.
That's awesome, Marco. I really liked what you said about how you could be happy with nothing if all you have really is nothing. You just have to find the good in everything. And I think both of those perspectives are just so awesome. And it's great that the two of you have chosen to work with SOAR and work with our population and see the differences in our culture versus the culture you grew up with and still want to make a difference here, especially when you know that this is not your home. This is not where you come from, but you bring that knowledge to the table. So I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your heritage with me, sharing how it's shaped you and how it's really changed the way that you approach our population at SOAR. Again, this has been Adventures at SOAR, and I have Paty and Marco here with me, and we've been talking about how Hispanic heritage really impacts ADHD, the outdoors, and how it's just influenced them in their journey with SOAR.
Thank you so much for having us. I enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation, for actually trying to connect with us. It was amazing to have this conversation.